On this week's Hot List, taxing time. A scandal involving this wealthy tax official spotlights an unhealthy system. How broken is it? Welcome wave. Heading into the Oscars, movies featuring Asian faces are favorites. Is Indonesia in the conversation? And brand base. Indonesia is now home to the world's biggest factory making this Japanese snack. Why? Hello and welcome. This is Hot Indonesia. I'm Dalton Talalaka in Jakarta. Here are my co-hosts now. Let's get to it. Linda Ibrahim, writer, business consultant, and Pilates pupil. And Karolina Sunny, entrepreneur, Miss Indonesia 2009, and dancing queen. Hot topic number 1, taxing time. It started as an assault case between young men and resulted in a government scandal at the highest level. The father of the son charged in this case happened to be a tax official who is now being investigated for undeclared assets, including luxury homes and vehicles. Rafael Alun Trisalboro was fired, the case getting attention from Finance Minister Sri Mulyani and President Joko Widodo. Now, you know, ladies, there have been cases in the past of tax officials receiving bribes for illegal help. One difference, I think, now is social media. Civil servants are now showing off their wealth, and the bosses said, cut it out. Nina, first to you. We must assume there are good, clean tax workers, but you are not surprised, I think, from this latest scandal.
I'm sure there are, but I think the peer pressure, or not peer pressure, but when they see those above them leading a much better life than they are, it's easy to understand why they would question what's the point, because you don't win by being a good guy, right?
Yeah.
And I think the angle that they're going for, which is cut it out, don't show off on social media, that's wrong. It's not don't show it off on social media, it's don't break the law.
Right. Don't
It's
do it
not
to begin with.
It's not don't show
Yeah.
the illegal wealth that you have, it's why do you have illegal wealth in the first
Yeah,
place.
it came off not quite right, but
So I feel like by all means, show the public what you have so that the public can question. I think if things were if there was progress being made, if things were being done properly with the taxpayers' money, maybe people would be a bit more forgiving because they feel like, okay, we're paying towards something which is having our needs met. And if you're getting a little something on the side, you know, at least our needs are being met. But when absolutely nothing is being done for the people, so people are saying, okay, our taxpayers' money is clearly going to the wrong place.
and what are they thinking? They think, I want to show this off. I mean, nobody brings attention to yourself, and that's what you don't want. Now, the finance minister came down hard, as we heard, making strong public statements. Besides firing the guy, she said that the accumulated wealth of her subordinate, quote, doesn't make sense. Linda, before you say it, you make your point. Does this begin to make an impact? Does what the finance ministry is doing, will it help?
Well, it should be, but I should point out, he was not fired. He filed resignation.
Well, you know, it's like,
No.
push me out or I get fired. That's not, I'm
Right,
saying what
no.
she said.
Yeah, but then
And that's a moot point. Anyway, he's out, so.
interestingly, actually, is the pressure from the public is that don't fire the guy, so that you can still continue to charge him with the clause applicable to civil servants. If you fire the guy, then it will be a different legal process. So, and actually, Sri Mulyani accepted it. So she didn't accept the tendered resignation. And also, there is another official with the custom office. He was in Yogyakarta, I think, and he was showing off wealth as well. And also, there's 2 people now being grilled.
cases, right?
Yeah, 2 cases, and hopefully this will open the doors for other officials. There are many. The funny thing is, well, not funny, it's kind of sad for us. Suddenly, I have a friend who's social media junkie, knows all the government officials and their families, and actually follow them on social media. She said, after these cases, suddenly all of those social media accounts are either being closed or deleted completely. Or just deleted completely. And she said, oh God, you know, before it was blatant show of what you're having, you know, and there was
no repercussion in
yeah. And actually, you know, the sad thing is because she managed to have like a screen captures of some of them, and I looked at the comments, especially on Instagram, what made me even sadder was that it was even like complimented, like, oh, you look so pretty, or such a gorgeous, clothes or shoes or something like. Huh?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I hope the impact goes beyond just closing their social media accounts. I mean,
Right,
but we've heard this before from previous
We
leaders,
have.
and it
We
keeps
have.
happening again. Now, the president himself said he wasn't surprised by public disappointment in this situation, right? He said, quote, do not flaunt your power and wealth to public officials. Danina, you mentioned it earlier. To me, it seems if you earned it, okay, but be a bit humble, right? You shouldn't be bragging about it. But the point is, investigators are finding inappropriate wealth based on salary. So it's more than perception, right?
Yeah,
Reality.
yeah.
But one thing I do wonder is why it took a case like this for it to be brought to light or to be prosecuted or looked into.
And one young man was in a coma, that brought it to light,
Because
unfortunately.
apparently he did actually report his wealth a few years back. And
But not all of it, apparently.
yeah. But the
but he
amount that
did
he did report was actually over his official salary as well. So it already didn't make sense then, but somehow it wasn't looked into.
But from what I understand, it didn't include the homes and these vehicles.
No, but the 56 billion he had reported. That's why it came on social media, because all this report of personal wealth. My father was a government official. He had to fill out half a ban, and it's actually available on the public site. That's how social media people got the 56 billion. He had to.
So it's not that he didn't report, just said, wow, how did he get all this stuff?
He did
question is-
report all of it, but
Right.
even the amount that he did report didn't make sense. But then even then it wasn't looked into.
And tax officials are among the highest paid, if not the highest paid,
Right.
government civil
Yeah.
service in the government
I should
to avoid
Yeah.
this kind of thing.
I should point out here, though, in Indonesia currently, your tax report, tax fileable returns every March is not yet the way it is in the U.S. when they really try to match up what you earn and what you're supposed to be having with that kind of earnings. It's all a matter of just filing right now. That's the current state of Indonesia.
We have among the lowest amount of registered taxpayers
That is
in the
correct.
region, if not
That
more.
is correct.
About 10%.
That is good. That's why they try to merge, right, our ID number and our tax number. They're not the same.
Yeah.
So once you turn 17, and that's when we get our ID number, immediately you're a tax paying citizen.
You're supposed to.
Supposedly.
Yeah,
Right.
not everybody does. The last point, real quickly, the former leader of the major Islamic group, Nahdlatul Ulama, said that he would call for followers not to pay their taxes, one possible impact if violations keep happening. As I said, we already have on the lowest percentage of taxpayers in the region. So going forward, do you think this current case will make a difference real quickly in corruption, or will it be forgotten until the next time? Yeah.
I hope they do something about it because it would be nice to see infrastructure and being laid out and programs done for the people, which is what the tax money is meant to be for.
But as far as tax officials receiving or feeling that they can take bribes to help companies lower their tax burdens, I mean, will it scare people, this kind of thing?
Oh, in the short run, I think so, yeah. But in the long run, if nothing being done to pursue even more beyond these two officials or three, then, it's just going to be another wave of awakening.
And it's 1 year left in this administration. You hope it's not just a certain government's position. It has to go on past every administration.
Yeah.
It has to be a credo that no corruption.
Right. And in the fact that, our current finance minister is just one of the toughest. I believe she's going to be around for a next administration. Maybe she doesn't want to be,
But they'd want to keep them, whoever it is, I think.
They should be wanting to keep her, but I'm not going to be here and pretend that all Indonesian politicians make smart choices, when once they get into power.
Okay. Hot Indo will continue shortly.
Mrs. Wang, are you with us?
Welcome Wave. Asian stars are favorites at the Oscars. Someday an Indonesian?
Come join the fun at the Mr. Moonlight Show in the Mo Bar at the Mandarin Oriental, Jakarta. You'll enjoy 5-star entertainment sponsored by Tatler Indonesia, the Indonesia Channel, 1619 Cigars, and Bali High Beer. Wednesday, March 15th from 8 p.m. with no entrance fee. Call the hotel for reservations and come on down.
I love Indonesia. I love the food. Yummy. Wow. I'm gonna hunt for ingredients. Now I'm ready to cook. Let's go to the kitchen. It's done. Let's meet to eat.
Foodiepedia on the Indonesia Channel.
Hi, I'm Handi Kurniawan and I'm watching the Indonesia channel in Hong Kong.
Hi, I'm Rory Hee. You're watching the Indonesia channel, the home of good sport.
I'm Trần Minh Ngân of VCCTV Net Việt in Hanoi.
I'm Thairat Thumya of Thailand's Thairat TV in Bangkok.
I'm Monica Sambodet from the National Television of Cambodia in Phnom Penh.
I'm Raymond Go of Malaysia's TV3 in Kuala Lumpur.
I'm Glenda Chong of Singapore's Channel News Asia.
I'm Raisa Chantami of the Indonesia channel at the ASEAN Secretariat in Jakarta.
This is your weekly look into the dynamic Southeast Asia region.
ASEAN Today on the Indonesia Channel.
The Best of Bali takes viewers on a special guided tour to the treasures of the Island of the Gods.
Well, the romantic dinner is beautiful.
The Best of Bali, only on the Indonesia Channel.
You're watching Hot Indonesia with Linda, Nina, and me. Here's hot topic number 2, Welcome Wave. It's already been racking up the awards ahead of Sunday's Oscars event. This science fiction comedy features Asian stars, including Malaysia's Michelle Yeoh, and is expected to do well again when the gold statues are handed out. Indonesians have also been in the movie spotlight, with streaming films breaking into the top 10 on Netflix. Ladies first, I haven't seen Everything Everywhere All at Once. I'm not sure if you have yet, but the movie features a number of Asian artists, including 94-year-old James Hong, and has been just about every movie calling for an Asian guy on. And for a guy who still worships Bruce Lee Eiffel, then this wave continues.
Yeah, I hope so too. I think it started with Parasites.
Well, before that as well.
Oh, no, right. But that was like a milestone.
It won an Oscar, yeah.
He won an Oscar, and then
suddenly there was like
Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon also,
but
right?
years ago before, but it
And that was
didn't
Michelle
really,
Yeoh.
yeah, but it didn't. That movie, even though it won a lot of awards, didn't really like create an awakening, to call it, to the potential of the.
Because it was a period piece, it's martial arts, and there's kind of a pigeonhole kind of.
Exactly, precisely. But Parasite was a contemporary movie, and a lot of people around the world could relate to that, just different settings. And then I think that opened the doors to the realization that Asia could make quality movies that Hollywood and Hollywood audience could enjoy, and I think that was really good. Also, Crazy Rich Asians, yeah, that had a lot of Hollywood appeal, right? Yeah, she's the one, but she's sort of like the go-to person for a lot of Asian men. Partly also,
She's a good actress.
and she speaks very good English. Remember Memoirs of Acacia? There was her, and it was Gong Li, and then there was
The lady where she played Aung San Suu Kyi, not very wide release, but I watched her in that.
the Gong Li also is a wonderful actress in Indonesia, and if you've seen her Mandarin
I was her fan, yeah.
gorgeous as hell, However, Gong Li never made it as much as
Her English.
her English.
But, the Korean film show, you don't need English. Okay, that's another subject. I want to get to that.
Yeah.
Anita first. Do Indonesians care as much as Asian Americans like myself when they see an Asian face on the screen? I mean, do people go, wow, that's cool?
I would assume so, because I think it.
I mean, you're an Indonesian, so tell me, do you feel excited when you see that?
I think so. Well, I think they would feel that it would open doors to getting nods.
But on a personal level, do you feel like, wow, okay, I see someone who looks like myself now. It's kind of, I haven't seen that in the past when I'm growing up.
I think if an Indonesian made it up there, I would feel more passionately about it, just because I feel like, especially for Michelle Yeoh, she's been in Hollywood for so long.
Right.
So it's not as relatable, because she's not exactly, oh, this is the first time you're getting a nod. She was a blonde girl, and it was recognized.
And I don't consider her just an Asian actress anymore. It's more like she's a movie star.
So it's someone that I admire. So of course I really respect the work that she does, and I think it's amazing that she's getting more awards. But she's not a first timer. So I think if an Indonesian made it up there, that would be a first time, and that would be something that would maybe feel more like, wow, this is it. We, like Indonesia is great. We made it.
Okay. I mean, there have been martial arts guys, with the Rain.
Yes.
And all those, but that's again, the genre of art.
Right.
Now,
some expected from Asian actors.
Yeah, unfortunately. Now, Indonesian movies, let's talk about Indonesia. Gaining popularity, as I mentioned, I think, in tandem with the range of movies and the quality of the movies. I think they've improved drastically over the past 10 years. It used to be only horror films that drew audiences, right?
Yeah, but when you're talking about competing in international events, there was one movie several years ago. It's called Harlina and the Murders in 4 Acts. They won something at Cannes. They won awards all over the show, and
How long ago?
This was the year I actually served as a independent judge at the Indonesia Film Festival that one year. So it must have been, I think, 2017. Masha Timothy was the lead actress there, and the setting, quintessential Indonesia, Sumba, a woman with a less known son, and her husband got killed, and how she avenged the murder of her husband, and it showed that, how the culture, women second class, and how she actually had to fight everything, to be able to avenge the death, and came out on top. And it was a very good movie, and I think it's now available for streaming. It's a very beautiful movie.
Okay, now speaking of streaming, those services are providing new platforms for Indonesia, which may not have gotten wider audiences if it was just traditional cinema, because only a certain amount of films can make it to the theaters. Award-winning actress Christina P. recently got great reviews for her HBO series, Episode 2, The Last of Us. I didn't see it, but I saw clips of it, and then she set the tone with her dramatic kind of opening of that.
For that episode.
Yes, yep. Okay, now, Nina, we have the talent, I think. I think we're getting far better storylines these days, or more of them. I'd say we are not far away from Oscars night as the Korean films have been. What do you say?
I think we have a ways to go, mainly because even Malaysia and definitely Korea, they've been in the business for a much longer time than we have. So the performance...
I haven't seen any Malaysian film in mainstream. I think we're ahead of Malaysia.
Well, Michelle Yeoh is Malaysian.
Well, but I mean, she knows the work out of there. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Stop.
Yeah, she left Malaysia, and she moved to Hong Kong even early in her career. Then she moved to Singapore. And she hasn't lived out of Malaysia for a year.
But why do you say a ways to go? Why?
I think in talent and in storytelling and the cinematography that we have is quite good. But I think in getting acknowledgement somehow, in going into and making it into the market and getting the nods that other film industries have been getting for many years, Indonesia hasn't been getting those. So I think somehow it's also just putting it out there, so getting more of an audience.
And that's why I think I said streaming services are providing that now, and we're getting more attention now.
And in terms of quality and acting, we're storytelling.
Right. I mean, we're world class in some cases.
Right. We've got good movies. But going into a wider audience takes a lot more than just having a product. There's also the branding of marketing. And I've heard stories from filmmakers, friends of mine. They submitted movies to international awards and all of that, and they say they know more about certain countries than we do. It has effect.
They don't even get the screen, even if they submit
it. It's just because it takes like people to come to the screening and watch,
But I think we're getting there. I think with this wave of the HBO films and the other streaming platforms, we're putting a lot more out there. And I see a lot more Indonesian films on platforms like that.
Well, hopefully, maybe we'll see, I think, the result maybe in like 5 years.
Hopefully before that. Say a year or two, we'll hopefully see a boom in talent and guys at the Oscars. More Hot Indo is ahead. Brand Base, why this Japanese snack opened its biggest factory in the world right here.
Produk lokal memang handal, kreasi lokal memang spesial. Ayo beli buatan negeri, bangga sekali produk sendiri. Dari busana sampai kria, kuliner juga buatan kita. Ayo beli kreatif lokal, marilah beli produk kreatif lokal. Pejuang negeri, beli kreatif lokal, banggalah beli produk kreatif lokal.
Hello, this is Anggun and you're watching the Indonesia channel, hot programs, cool people.
I'm Caitlin Turner, and welcome to Yoga Bliss. Exhale, reaching down to triangle pose. Roll your knee out and up to the sky, breathing here.
Yoga Bliss, only on the Indonesia channel. This is the Indonesia Channel.
You are watching iPop Playlist.
iPop on the Indonesia Channel.
You're watching Hot Indonesia from Jakarta. Hot topic number 3, brand base. It's a popular Japanese snack, a thin biscuit covered with chocolate in different flavors. And the biggest poke factory in the world is now operating just outside of Jakarta. Executives say their products will be exported regionally and to the U.S. market. Of course, we'll need some of that here as well. Japanese investment, $45 million, 260 workers. Small product, big deal, Lena.
I think it's a big deal. I think we underestimate the amount of snacks and, this doesn't fall under confectionery, but, small items, sweet Indonesians love their sweets, so whether they're exporting it or they have a huge market for it locally, I think it's great also that they can manufacture things in Indonesia because it brings added job opportunities.
Of course, as I said, 260 workers, and going out to the business consultant area, I think people would be surprised at the number of major global brands that operate here. Let me name a few. You know them: Unilever, Dove Soap, L'Oreal, Cosmetics, Mattel. Barbies are made here. I think a lot of kids don't know that.
Yeah.
Nike, Chains, of course, and the list goes on. And the reasons are well known.
Wasn't Unilever, it was a history. They were here before we got independence. Dutch company and all. So let's take out Unilever from the equation. But the rest is because, frankly speaking, our labor is abundant and our
inexpensive
compared to other countries. We have land. You can build factories. We have ports, which is also good. However, compared to the competition we're getting from Vietnam, for example, the red tape in Vietnam is so much better managed and less. So, of course, that attracts foreign investment. And they also enjoy the proximity to Singapore, being the regional hub. If you look at the geographically, from Jakarta Port or Surabaya Port to Singapore, compared to Vietnam to Singapore, it's closer to Singapore. So that's why they've been winning a lot of trade deals now.
But getting back to our success, having a poke factory here, and Japanese companies are very cautious and they're long-term, and when they come, they're usually here to stay, like the car companies. So
hopefully so.
It's a major win. I love pokies.
I must say though, it's a lot easier to change factories when it comes to biscuits compared to cars because of the kind of factories that you have to build. So I hope the Indonesian government realize that they have to be friendly to investors so that investments can stay, because we've lost a lot of investments in the garment industries to Vietnam, Bangladesh, and even Vanuatu. No,
because of tax reasons.
Yes. So hopefully,
good point.
So hopefully, they make it easier because we do need labor-intensive opportunities, and factories give that. Indonesia also government realize this, but often do not translate it into good policy, is that not only the majority of Indonesians are in productive age, over 50% of Indonesians are under the age of 30. Yes, and you're talking 140 million under the age of 30. They're not necessarily highly educated or highly skilled.
So the workforce is there if you want to work in a factory.
Yes.
And then realize that this obviously, the poke factory was in the works for 4 to 5 years at least in the planning stages. So it didn't just happen because maybe they got tax breaks now. It had to have come, and that's why you say plant the seeds now for future investment.
Sure.
And let them know in 3 or 4 or 5 years when you open that the advantages will be there.
Yeah.
And that's how you keep attracting. Okay. It is feedback time. We like feedback, don't we, ladies? Yoda had this comment on the relocation of the capital. The consequence is that Parliament and the Cabinet are obliged to live in the Kalimantan jungles. Not that bad. Okay, and Hedy said this about transgenders, not welcome at the country's premier beauty pageant. It's Miss Indonesia, not Mas Indonesia.
Okay. All right.
Mas meaning young man, of course. Okay, here's how to contact us with your feedback. Email at hotindo@theindonesiachannel.com or comment through our Hot Indonesia or Indonesia channel, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube pages. Final words, Linda.
Going back to what we talked about the first segment, it is the month for you to file taxes. And Indonesia still relies heavily on the citizen paying taxes. I know you're all mad. I am mad as well. But you can't get mad and not fulfill your obligations. So for the love of God and the love of our country, still file your tax returns, pay your taxes. And yeah, we pursue those misbehaving officials, but do pay your taxes.
Final words, Nina.
There are a lot of components to being healthy, and the main ones being getting enough sleep, enough water, and of course what you eat. So stay away from sugary foods and try to eat things that are more clean, like vegetable and proteins.
And my final word. On Sunday, people in 70 countries will fiddle with their clocks and watches to observe daylight savings time. That's when they all move their time 1 hour ahead in their clocks, originally to save more daylight. Now, Indonesia has never done this, and I say, right on. It's such a strange thing to play with time and always confusing for travelers and TV viewers. I say, all clocks everywhere should remain the same.
Well, we're a tropical country. We don't need to move anything.
Well, no one should. Okay, and that is Hot Indonesia for this week. For Linda Ibrahim and Karadina Sunny, I'm Dalton Tanaraka. Terima kasih, and please join us again next time.